I thought there is like a transmission of the virus through the Zoom, maybe.
Oh.
Just developed. Yeah.
All will be made clear right at the beginning. And I'm 1 more minute, and then we will go ahead and begin. We won't be speaking with our masks on.
That's okay. We used to anyway.
Patience, that's what it's all about, patience.
If I had patience, I'd be a doctor.
And you are a heart doctor.
In Hebrew, patience is savlanut. That sounds like if you can say savlanut, then you'll feel more patient. What is it in Arabic?
I don't know what they mean. What is it again? Say it again.
Patience?
Patience, sabr. As-sabr. Yeah, patience, yeah. إنما يوفى الصابرون أجرهم بغير حساب. That's the only thing you will be rewarded for no limit.
Okay, I'm going to ask everyone if you would please mute yourself, and we will go ahead and begin. My name is Reverend Rich Hendricks. I'm the pastor at the Metropolitan Community Church of the Quad Cities. Our leaders ordered masks in June of 2019 in anticipation of a climate rally that was held. Little did we know how much those masks foreshadowed the future. And now, as each one speaks, they will remove their masks because the truth about our votes cannot and must not be hidden behind masks of lies. And I see Josie has not joined us yet, but I wish to just say on behalf of Indigenous peoples everywhere that we begin this by honoring them as First Nations first speaker. We honor the ground upon which we stand because they have gone before us. And it was theirs long before it was ours. And their voices too often have been silenced. So if Josie joins us later, she will have a chance to speak. And I think that brings us to Allison.
Good afternoon. At Progressive Action for the Common Good, we believe that a well-functioning democracy is in the best interest of all people. In addition, we believe that the power of the vote is a key way of ensuring a well-functioning democracy. The power of the vote means that all people have been heard. We agree that every citizen should vote and that every vote should be counted. We applaud the dedication and efforts exhibited by our local election officials to ensure that every vote has been counted. The results of the election are to reflect the will of the people, and progressives stand firm in desiring to see a unified nation that can advance the interests of all people. Regardless of the outcome, we will work tirelessly toward this common good. We hope to work with all types of Americans in achieving this goal. We are confident that the will of the people is to see a stronger, more unified United States of America, and that this is what will prevail in the years ahead. Thank you.
Carlos?
I'm going to speak for Leslie since she's not here. So I will jump in before Carlos. Leslie could not join us, but I will be speaking for her. I'm Amber Borgiolo. I'm the executive director at Quad Cities Interfaith. And this has been a historic voter turnout this year. People have put so much effort into voting, which is why every single vote must be counted. The United States has always held elections and upheld a peaceful transfer of power, even in times of great crisis. We held successful presidential elections amid a civil war, the Great Depression, both world wars, and now it's our turn to prove that nothing will stand in the way of counting every vote and delivering our democracy. By uniting across our differences, we can uphold our democracy by ensuring every vote is counted and demanding that the person who we have chosen is sworn in as our president. Election officials, our local election officials here have been preparing for our elections for years, counted every vote, verified the results, and following every law used in every election. Independent election experts are currently validating these results. All of this is currently happening right now. Over the course of a campaign, candidates have had their say. Then it's time for the voters to have ours, and for the will of the people to determine the outcome. Any politician can say whatever they want, but it is the will of the voter that decides. Now, we must uphold the democratic transfer of power we have since our founding. We have made our voices heard, and now we must swear in the government the people have chosen. Regardless of who you voted for, it's time we come together and tackle the very real issues our country faces, like COVID and the need for economic growth, and making sure we all make ends meet. It's time to move forward. Thank you. And now, Carlos.
Thank you. Voting is our greatest right we have in America. We're just not voting for ourselves, but for everyone that can vote. So undocumented immigrants, younger children, people all across the United States that come from different backgrounds and that still can't vote. Voting, sorry. Sorry, I didn't really come well prepared. Sorry, can you skip me?
My name is Kent Ferris. I serve as the Director of Social Action for the Diocese of Davenport. On Bishop Thomas Zinkula's staff, I also serve as a liaison with ecumenical and interfaith groups. It is in that capacity that I'm part of Quad Cities Interfaith and the Faith Leaders Caucus, and I'm here today to share a few comments. A few weeks ago, before Election Day, Bishop Zinkula shared with the 90,000 Catholics of our 22 county dioceses that we are called to exercise the right to vote, bringing our best selves to the public square. Being our best selves means taking the time to form our consciences, drawing from the rich tradition of Catholic social teaching that impels us to affirm the dignity of every human person and to work for the common good. Being our best selves also means engaging in politics with civility, clarity, and compassion. There has been great interest in the 2020 elections. This is evident in many ways, most notably in the number of people who voted before Election Day by absentee ballot, a volume of ballots that may take longer to process. We will need to be patient as the process unfolds. Every vote needs to be counted. A delay means that our democracy is working, that votes are being counted and verified. This is something to appreciate in our own local area as it is for the collective of local communities and states across the country. Bishop also shared the prayerful intention that we draw on the resources of our faith as we use the opportunities of our democracy to shape a society more respectful of the life, dignity, and rights of the human person, especially the poor and vulnerable. Shaping a society in this manner begins, but does not end with a peaceful and civil election process.
Shalom, I'm Rabbi Linda Bertenthal. In Judaism, we have an important wisdom text written by our rabbinic sages approximately 2,000 years ago called Pirkei Avot, which is sometimes translated as the ethics of our ancestors. One of its teachings is relevant today, and I would like to share some excerpts from it. Ben Zoma said, "Who is wise? The one who learns from all people. Who is mighty? The one who subdues his passions, as it is written in Proverbs. One who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and one whose temper is controlled than one who captures a city. Who is honored? The one that honors every person." So we learn from this, what nation is wise? The nation that learns from every voter. What nation is mighty? The nation that subdues its impatience for results. What nation is honored? The nation that honors every person by counting every legally cast vote. There is honor in being counted. In the Torah, our most sacred text, the Hebrew phrase for taking a census is to lift up the head. As a democratic republic, we have the obligation to lift up the head of every citizen, to ensure that every person counts, that every person is treated equally in this most important task of our nation, choosing our next leader. My prayer for this nation this week, may we be wise enough, mighty enough, honorable enough to count every vote. Ke nehi ratzon, may this be God's will.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Jay Wolin, minister of the Unitarian Universalist congregation here in Davenport, Iowa, and a member of Quad Cities Interfaith. One of the principles of Unitarian Universalism promotes is the use of the democratic process, both in our congregations and society at large. Unitarian Universalist commitment to democracy is not just moral, though, or principle, is a deeply held theological belief. It comes from our principle that affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and the understanding that we are all part of one interdependent creation. These theological values of human value and interdependence are why each person needs to be heard on matters that impact their lives. So we need to be clear that if we value democracy, if we value the citizens of this country, if we value any sense of fairness, then every step needs to be taken to make sure that every vote is counted. Voting is a fundamental right as a citizen, and it is a theological imperative as a religious people. People matter. Their votes matter. Now, I'm speaking today as a religious leader, but I call on our political leaders, our civic leaders, our business leaders to do the right thing, not to act in a way of self-interest, but to act in a way of righteousness, to do the just act, the moral act, the religious act, to act to make sure that every vote is counted before declaring a winner in the election. May it be so. Thank you for your time and for being here.
Peace, shalom, and salamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Bashir Jahesh. I'm the Imam at the Islamic Center of Quad Cities in Moline. The United States presidential election of 2020 has attracted more tension and attention from the national and the global community. Despite who will win this race, the country's universal core values, such as liberty, equality, diversity, and unity, must remain keys to our strength, success, and prosperity. The Almighty clearly stated in the Holy Quran the oneness of humanity, dignity of human beings, justice for all, and peace as the ultimate goal of humans in this world. O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know one another. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of God is the most righteous of you. Chapter 49, verse 13. We have bestowed dignity on the children of Adam, provided them with transport on land and sea, given them for sustenance things good and pure, and conferred on them special favors above a great part of our creation. Chapter 17, verse 70. O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to God, even as against yourselves, or your parents, or your kin, and whether it be against rich or poor, for God can best protect both. And know that God invites mankind into the abode of peace. Chapter 10, verse 25. O you who have believed, enter into peace entirely, and do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Indeed, he is to you a clear enemy. Chapter 2, verse 208. Moving towards the last stage of this election, we must ensure that democracy includes all these countries' fabrics as one human American family. All our voices can and should be expressed and heard with civility. Every ballot is counted, valued, and considered towards the peaceful transition of power, as has been the United States tradition, even in times of great crisis. May peace be with you all. Salam alaikum. Thank you.
I'm Pastor Lisa Gaston, and as the spiritual leader of Edwards Congregational United Church of Christ, a progressive Christian church that supports everyone no matter who they are or where they are on life's journey, I stand with this group of community leaders. Our congregation believes everyone is welcome, a social justice stance we have supported since our inception over 180 years ago here in Davenport. Over the years, we have signed a joint pledge to end slavery and supported voting rights of people of color. We have protested the Dakota Pipeline and its damage to Indigenous peoples, and as Jesus has called us to do, welcomed immigrants. As the pastor of Edwards Congregational United Church of Christ, we stand with the people of the United States, their right to vote no matter where they are in the whole world, and the right for all the votes to be counted. No matter who is in office, who is elected into office, and how our friends and neighbors vote, we believe We are all created in God's image and are called to treat everyone with God's love. As Christians, we believe Jesus taught us to love God first and to treat our neighbors as ourselves. As followers of Jesus, we will continue this work in our community and the world, working for justice and mercy for all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. I'm Dina Leone, president of the Quad City Federation of Labor. I'm glad to be on this Zoom call with all you today. What I'm going to talk about is 2 points. The first point, I don't want anybody to think out there that this is something new. We live in a great country, the United States of America, the leaders of the free world. We know what a democracy is. This is nothing new, and it should not change today. We need to make sure that we lead by example to the rest of the world, especially in countries where they don't have a democracy, that we will count every vote. We will not stop counting until every vote is counted. That is what a true democracy does. My second point is the first order of business that the newly elected president should do. And what they should do is clearly take on COVID. But we have to do this together. Sisters and brothers, we are all in this together. We cannot defeat COVID. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're an independent. Whoever is president of the United States, please lead us in the direction that we can bring our country into a situation where we have health for everyone. The health and care of everyone is at stake. But then again, for those that don't care about that and they only care about the economy, we cannot straighten out the economy unless we get the COVID under control. So whoever is president, you need to lead us in that direction. And for us citizens, we need to get behind that by 100%. Otherwise, it will not work. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Gosa. I am the Iowa Vice President of the Quad City Federation of Labor. And I'm going to echo everything Dino said. I probably should have got with him ahead of time because he stole some things I was going to say. But I just want to reiterate that all votes matter and every vote needs to be counted. And we're all in this together and we need to come together and work together for the betterment of all. And I'm going to leave it at that. And thank you for having me on here.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. I'm the Reverend Dr. Matthew Coomber, and I'm speaking here amongst these other concerned citizens about the current state of the election. Today is not a day for partisanship. The issue at hand is not Republican or Democrat. It's an American issue. It's an issue in which we can all come together and demand what has already been agreed to and codified in our laws. That in this republic, we have the right to be counted. We have the right to stand up every 4 years and decide collectively whom our national leader will be. And upon engaging in this solemn act, we have the right to be able to trust in an honest and peaceful outcome with either deceit or obstacle. As faith leaders in our community and on behalf of those we serve, we join together not to ask for an honest and peaceful outcome, be that the inauguration of a new president or the re-inauguration of a sitting one, because we don't have to ask. Just in the same way that Americans don't have to ask to speak freely. Just in the same way that Americans don't have to ask permission to follow the religion of their choice or to follow no religion at all. In the same manner, I raise my voice with these, my sisters and brothers, not to ask, but to insist on that which the law already requires, to insist on that which is already our guaranteed and hard-earned right. The votes of the American people, all votes, be counted in a manner so as to not disenfranchise, but to honor the spirit of liberty to which our nation aspires. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt, and for all of these speakers. I'm going to speak now as Rich Hendricks, co-president of One Human Family, QCA. Democracy is like love, like life. It looks really messy sometimes, but it is a wonderful, precious gift. Think about baking a cake. You don't take it out of the oven until it is done. This, counting every vote, is not fraud, nor is it embarrassing. It is democracy. We had record high rates of people voting absentee. Wonderful. The United States of America has chosen a president. This is what democracy looks like. We just don't know the full results yet. It will take election officials longer this year to count every vote and determine which candidate the people have chosen as our president. Let the votes be counted, the results certified, and then the victor proclaimed. We live in a society of instant gratification. Our electronic devices have fooled us into believing that everything can be done exactly when we want it to be done. But we cannot hurry the winter, the spring, the summer, or the fall. Ecclesiastes tells us that there is a time for every purpose under the heavens. And now is the time to be patient, to wait, to honor our election officials and honor the process of democracy. Such deadlines as do exist under state laws will be respected, but they are days away yet. One of the underpinnings of the Republican Party has been respect for state law and state authority, and this is the time for that, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or independent. In the midst of a deadly pandemic, Americans have turned out in record numbers to make their voices heard. We are not a dictatorship, but a democratic republic. Let the will of the people be heard. Michelle Obama said some powerful things in her convention speech this year, and one of them about taking the high road is particularly appropriate in this moment. She wrote and said, "Going high means standing fierce against hatred while remembering that we are one nation under God, and if we want to survive, we've got to find a way to live together and work together across our differences. Going high means unlocking the shackles of lies and mistrust with the only thing that can truly set us free, the cold, hard truth. That truth is that neither Biden nor Trump are in charge of the vote. We are." Thank you for listening to our voices today. I'm going to turn it over to Amber.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to open it up to the press who are here, if there's any questions for any of the speakers that you would like to ask.
There's a question in the chat already, Amber.
What are the reasons for your calls to count votes? Why are you worried that ballots won't be counted? Who would like to take that one? I mean, I can speak a little bit briefly on that, and then if somebody else would like to join. I think that this year, there, like some of the speakers talked about, there's been historic voter turnout, and it's been historic amounts of absentee ballots and voting by mail ballots. At the same time, there's been, some people voicing concerns that these might not be, official or the best way to vote. So we just want to come and kind of get out ahead and make sure that all of our voices are heard. regardless if you voted the day of the election or voted early or voted by mail. We want all of these different ways that people worked so hard to get out and vote, especially this year during the pandemic. You know, people worked really hard to vote. So we want to make sure that those votes are counted.
I would add to that I was concerned at the tone and the words of the president in the wee hours of this morning. It wasn't entirely clear what he was saying, but clearly the voting had stopped. So I thought what he was calling for was an end to the counting of ballots, and indicating that he would perhaps try to use the courts to try and cause the ballots not to be counted. And to me, as a former lawyer who is very passionate about the law, that seemed very inappropriate. And as a rabbi who's very concerned with justice and the righteousness of our nation, it was really alarming.
And I will just add, there have been, at least what I've read in the paper, a number of lawsuits that are continuing to be filed to invalidate votes for various reasons. And we just want to make sure that people who are eligible to vote and followed the rules, that their vote is counted, and that these frivolous lawsuits be considered just that, frivolous.
I would agree with all that too. I've been up since the wee hours in the morning. The president, from what I got, my interpretation of what he said was basically, in certain states we should stop counting the votes, and there was other states we should keep on counting. And that really concerned me because, first of all, the president doesn't dictate the counting or the non-counting of votes. It's up to each state. And you can't just stop when you're ahead. Otherwise, the Bears would always win. So we can't do that, no matter even if it's our favorite team that we want to win. It's about democracy, and every vote should be counted to the fullest extent of that state law, which in some cases go all the way through, a week or so. So the important thing is, a lot of people voted. It's record numbers of votes. And now we'll get a good taste of democracy in its fullest. Because when people don't vote, unfortunately, you get a microcosm of that. So.
One other point that is so small compared to the enormity of all of it, but as the mother of someone who is active duty military, I'm very mindful of the fact that most of our military vote by absentee ballot, and those ballots come in usually fairly late in the process. Call me a proud Navy mom, that's fine. I am a proud Navy mom, but it seems to me that the people who dedicate so much of their lives, and many of them putting their lives really on the line for us, are an example of the importance of counting every vote, because their votes are very vulnerable in a way that they shouldn't be. But the rhetoric is going against counting all votes, and that breaks my heart.
Just to add to that, another aspect of this that concerns me and makes me want to speak up is seeing previous attempts at discounting ballots. I refer especially to the case in Texas, where there was a lawsuit to discard over 100,000 ballots that had been cast through their drive-in ballot system. And so I think it's also important to raise our voices and speak up to show how much we believe in this process and how passionate we are about making sure that every vote counts.
Thank you, everyone. Is there any further questions? Okay, before we close out, I just wanted to mention that on Saturday, the 7th at Vanderveer Park, we will be having a rally. And this rally is kind of a continuation of this press conference today. And so we will be out there to call for, every vote counts and to count every vote and to defend this wonderful process of democracy that we all got to participate in. That is Saturday at Vanderveer Park at 1 o'clock. By
It will be, in addition to a rally, also a prayer vigil.
Yes, a prayer vigil. Yep, a rally and a prayer vigil. Thank you. So it will be both a rally and a prayer vigil. So we invite everyone to come out and to attend that. Many of the same people will be speaking there at that as well as some additional folks. So please join us for that. And thank you so much for taking the time and for all the wonderful speakers who came. We just, as leaders in this community, we wanted to make sure that we got out ahead of this narrative and got out and really were able to shape what happens here in our community in regarding to the election. So thank you so much for taking the time. And we will send the recording out. Thank you.
Power to the people. Thank you, everyone.